Welcome, everyone, to Working People, a podcast about the lives, jobs, dreams, and struggles of the working class today. Working People is a proud member of the Labor Radio Podcast Network and is brought to you in partnership with In These Times magazine and the Real News Network. This show is produced by Jules Taylor and made possible by the support of listeners like you. My name is Maximilian Alvarez, and we've got an urgent episode for y'all today. As you guys know, we've been covering the Trump administration's authoritarian assault on higher education and the people who live, learn, and work there. We've been speaking with faculty members and graduate students on this show as this new terrifying McCarthyist crackdown has been unfolding in real time. But today's episode is a pointed reminder that this climate of intense fear and repression is not achieving its primary goal of forcing people to retreat, hide, and silence themselves. On campuses around the country, people continue to stand up, fight back, and speak out. As Michael Aria reports at Mondoweiss, quote, in recent weeks, students across multiple university campuses in the United States have launched hunger strikes in solidarity with the people of Gaza enduring famine. The protesters are also calling on their schools to cut ties with weapons manufacturers and other companies connected to Israel. More than 24 California students began a fast on May 5th, with more schools joining in the preceding days. San Francisco State University students recently ended their strike after obtaining several commitments from their school. The administration said it would expand the implementation of the divestment policy and work toward a partnership with Palestinian universities. 6 students at Sacramento State, which also previously adopted a divestment policy, also recently ended their hunger strike. At UCLA, student activist Maya Abdullah was hospitalized on the 9th day of her hunger strike. Students with the group Yaleys for Palestine recently met with Yale College Dean Pericles Lewis amid an ongoing hunger strike at the school. The demonstrators are demanding that Yale divest from weapons manufacturers, adopt a human rights-based investment strategy, and end its academic partnerships with Israel and grant amnesty for student protesters, end quote. And at the University of Oregon, students also initiated a hunger strike this week. As Nathan Wilk writes for KLCC, which is Oregon's NPR affiliate, quote, protesters at the University of Oregon began a hunger strike Monday in an effort to bring attention to starvation in Gaza. Around 470,000 people in Gaza are facing, quote, catastrophic hunger, according to a UN-backed report released last week. In Eugene, some UO students and employees announced that they would stop eating starting Monday morning in order to pressure local leaders to respond to the crisis. The protesters want UO to divest from companies with ties to Israel and provide more protections for pro-Palestinian activists on campus. Protesters are also asking the public to call Oregon's elected leaders and congressional delegation, demanding they speak out against Israel's blockades. In an email to KLCC Monday, UO Representative Eric Howald said the university respects students' right to express their views, but advised caution about their methods. Quote, we urge them to choose forms of expression that prioritize their health, safety, and overall well-being, said Howald, while adhering to UO freedom of speech guidelines, end quote. Now, as we speak, Palestinians in the Gaza Strip who have somehow managed to survive Israel's scorched earth siege and bombing are being deliberately starved to death. As Jen Bartholomew wrote on Tuesday at The Guardian, quote, the UN's humanitarian chief Tom Fletcher told the BBC this morning that 14,000 babies could die in Gaza in 48 hours if aid did not reach them in time. 5 aid trucks entered Gaza on Monday, but Fletcher described this as a, quote, drop in the ocean and totally inadequate for the population's needs. It followed the Director General of the World Health Organization, Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, saying yesterday that 2 million people were starving in the Gaza Strip while, quote, tons of food is blocked at the border by Israel, end quote. This is all happening now, as I read this. This is urgent, dire, unbearable, and unconscionable. And that is why we are seeing students escalating their protest tactics and engaging in these hunger strikes. And on Wednesday night, May 21st, I spoke with 4 hunger strikers at the University of Oregon, including Cole, Sadie, and Ephron, all undergraduate students at the University of Oregon and members of Jewish Voice for Peace, UO, and Fia, a Palestinian-American undergraduate student at the University of Oregon who has organized with JVP on the hunger strike and is currently on hunger strike herself. Cole, Sadie, and Ephron had just completed a 2-day solidarity hunger strike before we recorded our episode. Here's my conversation with Fia, Cole, Sadie, and Ephron, recorded on May 21st. Well, Fia, Cole, Sadie, Ephron, thank you all so much for joining us today, especially with everything that you've got going on over there, everything that is going on in the world right now. It's a crazy time, but y'all are, out there putting yourselves and your bodies on the line, standing up for what's right. And, our listeners want to know more about this, who you are, why you're doing this, what it feels like, and what they can do to help. So I want to just jump right in and ask if we could go around the table here and just introduce yourselves to folks listening to this right now. Can you tell us a bit more about who you are and why you're doing this and what exactly it is that y'all are doing right now?
Yeah, for sure. I'm Fia. I'm a Palestinian American student, as was mentioned. And it is the 3rd day of my hunger strike where I'm just drinking water and taking electrolytes. So haven't had food since 9 a.m. on Monday morning. And this is all to raise awareness around the blockade currently happening on the border of Gaza, with Israel refusing to let any aid in. So the motivation, the goal, all of it is to raise awareness for Gazans, for the situation in Palestine, and to stand in solidarity with students who are speaking up for the right thing.
I'm Cole. I am a Jewish student here at UL, and I just completed the first segment of our hunger strike, and we'll resume next week. We're doing this because our school is sending funds through their investments to the Israeli war machine. And that's not acceptable, how they're using our money. So we have tried various tactics throughout the year. We've tried protests. We've tried showing up at board meetings. We've tried an encampment. We've tried a massive petition, and they won't listen. So this is the next step, and we just have to keep trying tactics until they listen. We did a 60-hour hunger strike, and next week we will do an indefinite one if they haven't listened by then. And we just have to keep going.
Yeah. My name is Sadie. I'm also a Jewish student at the University of Oregon. Like Cole and Fia said, the siege on Gaza has continued, and right now it's more crucial than ever that we do everything that we can to stop what is happening to Palestinians in Gaza. Also, as a Jewish person, it's really important to leverage our identities, since a lot of this is being committed in our name. And yeah, I think our university is continuously complicit and refuses to listen to us or to meet our demands, which is why we're continuing to do this hunger strike.
My name is Ephron again. I'm also a Jewish student. Why we're doing this is, once again, our university is complicit in this genocide. They specifically refuse to disclose and refuse to divest, yet they are a public university, and they have to uphold that. According to Oregon law, this is not us as organizers speaking. This is us speaking on behalf of we would like them to divest from this genocide, this ethnic cleansing, and the continued starvation. And it is being done in our name. Why don't we stand up for what's right and stand in solidarity with the Palestinians in Gaza?
Well, and as I read in the introduction to this episode, right? I mean, the United Nations has warned that nearly 500,000 people in Gaza are facing catastrophic hunger right now. And the latest report from yesterday was that the UN was warning that 14,000 babies could die in Gaza in the next 48 hours without aid let into Gaza, which Israel has had a total blockade on for months at this point. So I wanted to kind of like connect that to what y'all are feeling right this second. Like, Fia, of course, the hunger strike that y'all have all engaged in and that Fia continues to engage in at this very moment. We're recording this on Wednesday night, May 21st. As you guys said, you were doing this both in protest and in solidarity with, like our fellow human beings who are being starved to death, if not bombed to death, among so many other catastrophic horrors. Like, could you just tell listeners a bit more about what it feels like, the hunger? Like, I mean, like, what does your body go through, and what is that? I guess, what do you want to communicate about that is helping you at least understand a bit more what so many are going through in Gaza right now as we speak?
Yeah, it's been interesting because we're only 3 days in, I'm only 3 days in, which is the average amount of time that people in Gaza go without between meals. So what I'm experiencing, I've been like putting it in the context of this has been people's everyday for months, and it's really unimaginable. In the West, we don't really have to contend with this type of hunger and starvation, especially used as a weapon. In a lot of cases, we have the privilege to not have to experience that. But that doesn't mean that, the symptoms of hunger don't exist. And I think that that's, what the purpose of this type of action is like, I feel it in my body. I wake up and I'm tired. Every single meal time, because it's ground into us, like it's drilled into us since we're young, that morning is breakfast, afternoon is lunch, and nighttime is dinner. And something feels immensely off when there's not that that consistency. And on top of that, like Arab culture has like a very specific connection to food as like it relates to hospitality. And I think that Israel's like starvation of Gaza is not only harming them physically, but it's starving their souls in a way that is cultural erasure, not allowing them to participate in their food practices and culture, while also just starving them to death. Like it is an erasure of people and an erasure of culture. But sorry, little bit of a tangent on that. But physically, yeah, I have been experiencing headaches. I've noticed when I brush my hair, more of my hair falls out. I've noticed my voice is like going a little bit. My whole body is like responding to the lack of nutrients. And yeah, I can't imagine being in this state also under the constant hum of drones, under the constant threat of bombing, with, occupying soldiers constantly threatening to murder you in the streets. It's truly just unimaginable.
Yeah, I had an experience last night that I've been thinking about where I was moving a trash can and I like hit my ankle on it, not particularly hard, and it hurt so badly. Like not eating changed how I felt, the physical sensation. And I cannot imagine, like that pain from like a trash can like hitting your ankle. I cannot imagine being in an actual war zone with bombs flying and buildings crumbling and bullets flying. It's genuinely unimaginable. So that's been something I was thinking about. And then just functioning gets difficult. Thinking about things in detail, making plans is hard. The brain fog sets in. Headaches were probably the most common thing, like all day headache. And your muscles ache. Like walking around, your muscles hurt as if you had worked them out, even though you're just walking. And I mean, yeah, imagining like running from something like that is just unbearable.
Yeah. There was another person who was organizing with us who was talking about a moment that they had while we were organizing the hunger strike and before we started, about putting their groceries away and like thinking about how food is so expensive and it's so scarce. And I had a similar moment last night where I was feeding my cat and I got her food out of the fridge and I was looking at the groceries that I have, and I just got like this like kind of overwhelming wave of like, I was just felt very emotional, honestly, because I feel so lucky to have access to fresh food and nutrients and everything to keep me healthy. And I feel like that's something that a lot of people take for granted. And I don't think we should, because I think food also, it shouldn't be a privilege. I think everybody should have access to fresh food and vegetables and anything. So, yeah, I don't know. That was just very emotional for me. And yeah, I think physically as well, I just felt a lot more sensitive in a lot of different ways, like physically and emotionally. Like Cole said, like headaches were very consistent for me. And also sleeping too, like going to sleep, it was really difficult. Like especially last night, which was like the second night or third night, second night. And yeah, I was laying in my bed and I was like, my stomach hurt and I just was thinking like, I could like also couldn't imagine like if there were like bombs being dropped right now or if I was like sleeping on rubble and things. So yeah, it was very like eye-opening for me for sure.
For me, I have a specific moment of I was walking to school and I could feel it. I had like a 20-minute walk from my house, and like every step I had super low energy. So my calves, specifically my calves, I'd feel it like a lot, and it felt super painful. And all I could think when I was walking was, oh my God, what would it feel like to be running to like pick up the martyrs or like transport them to the hospital or just like trying to get food and flour. Like I could not imagine that pain. And then another time that was like super transformative for me was sitting in my classes. And like everybody was super normal and talking, and like my brain was like completely out of it. I was like, I cannot like sit and read for 2 minutes because it hurts. And psychologically speaking, not physically. And like that was like a defining moment for me. And I just was like, we gotta do more. That is what I came to the conclusions of.
Yeah, I mean, you don't like, you don't want to trivialize it. Like, I mean, but your brain it reaches for the experiences that it can find that can help us like understand and empathize with what our fellow human beings are going through. And everyone listening to this knows what it's like to be hangry, right? I mean, yeah, you've missed a meal or, here and there, or maybe like, there's one day where you were just really, burning a lot of calories and not eating many. And like by the end of the day, your head's pounding, you're short with people. Like that is a drop in the goddamn bucket, pardon my French. And we all understand that. But as you guys are all pointing out, like we don't know what it's like for that to be our normal state and for that to be an violently imposed state on us and everyone around us, effectively like trying to kill us. I mean, I don't know what that's like. I do know what it's like to not know where my next meal's coming from and how I'm going to pay for it. And, I think people listening to this show can also understand that, because there's a real psychological component with that as well. Like the feeling of fear, terror, anger, shame, all the things wrapped up in once, when you don't know how you're going to get your next meal, let alone if you got children or other family members to try to provide for. Like the mental load that puts on you, like compounds the physical, exhaustion, and your body's literally starting to eat itself after a while, because that's the only way it's going to get energy. And I'm feeling so many things and thinking so many things talking to y'all, because what you're saying is so powerful. What you're doing is brave and dangerous. And I mean, it was just earlier this week that what was it at UCLA? Maya Abdullah, one of the hunger strikers, was hospitalized after 9 days of hunger striking. And so Sophia and all of y'all, I got to imagine like that's also on your minds. Like this is not just a protest. This is like putting your body on the line until something happens, and really trying to force others to make something happen. I wanted to just ask in that vein, like where this goes, like, and what the if you could just say a little more about the demands, the hope that of what you can get the university to do by taking this drastic action, and what you see happening here with hunger strikes occurring not just on your campus, but on campuses increasingly around the country.
Yeah. Seeing other students go on hunger strike across the country has been absolutely inspiring, especially as it relates to, food as a human right. And Palestine specifically has a long history of hunger striking. Prisoners in Israeli prisons used to be called salt and water in Arabic, because that's what they would sustain on. So it's been incredible to see this tactic specifically just take off among the student movement. And I think it also is for the reason of like tactically, like logistically, it is a good move, because it allows us not only to talk to admin and negotiate with them on some of the things, at least on our campus, we've already achieved, like scholarships, but it also allows us to leverage this power to connect our struggle and our movement and this action to our state representatives. So right now, one of our biggest demands is that we really, really want to meet with Val Hoyle, Merkley, and Wyden, all Oregon State or State of Oregon representatives who do have the political power to put pressure in the right places to get this embargo, to get an arms embargo, and to get the blockade ended. So we are encouraging every single person that is in support of what we're doing to reach out to Oregon representatives, your state representatives, any of your elected officials, and urge them to take action and use their political power.
Yeah, I mean, the interesting thing about this tactic, in addition to its long, specifically Palestinian history, is I think sometimes it comes off as an emotional appeal. This is not an emotional appeal to administrators. They do not care if their students are hungry. They do not care if they call the police in riot gear on their students. What they care about is their bottom line. And the publicity that the hunger strikes brings is what's so essential to hurting that bottom line. And so that's why this tactic now, we hope, will work. So far, they've agreed to meet, but only with administrators who do not have the power to meet our demands. So we're in the process of forcing those upper level admin to come down from the ivory tower to meet with their students who they supposedly represent.
And supposedly care about.
And yeah, I mean, it's truly not an emotional appeal to them. It is a publicity and bottom line strategy. And that, I mean, that's necessary because we're asking them to change their finances, which is what they care about the most. We're asking them to disclose their investments and to divest from the Israeli war machine, from these companies that are making and sending these bombs, from these companies that are supporting the settlements. And they will not divest from that unless we can provide some counter pressure that hurts them more.
Yeah, definitely agreed. I think publicity is a big thing that they have made it clear that they don't want on this. And I think it's very telling how they're responding to this and like how they in what ways they truly care about their students. In response to a lot of previous actions we've done, like including the encampment or rallies and protests just in general, they often respond and say that they're only in disagreement because they support students' right to free speech, but in the name of Jewish safety, this shouldn't be something that we should allow on campus. And I feel like by using this tactic, it's a good way to kind of show them that this isn't about Jewish safety. This is about them investing in the genocide of so many Palestinians and also the ethnic cleansing of Palestinians. And yeah, I think they really just care about their finances and publicity. And I think that's a big reason why they were quick to respond to meet with us, but not with the right people. So
yeah, to bounce off of that, they say it's in the name of Jewish safety. It's not. It's not even a little bit. It's the name of anti-Semitism. It's not. It's so the Board of Trustees, they're like the head of the ivory tower, I like to call them. They can continue to make their money. They can continue to profit off genocide. They can continue to profit off ethnic cleansing. I want to bring up this new a new target we have. It's called Duo Mobile. It's directly connected to the apartheid system in Israel. The Cisco Mobile it uses AI, other things to promote settlements. And under international law, this has been declared by the ICJ. That is illegal. But our university continues to invest in that. They've already shown that. We use Duo Mobile, this app, every single day. All 20,000 students use this app. They've made their priorities very clear. So as a Jewish student, I say this is not in the name of Jewish safety. This is in the name for you to continue to profit off genocide, colonialism, imperialism. So,
well, I wanted to ask if we could maybe go back around the table, but in reverse order. Let's stick with Sadie, Cole, and Efron for a second, and then Fia, will go back to you. But as we mentioned at the top, y'all are members of Jewish Voice for Peace. You were just touching on kind of how you are doing this, in opposition of the narrative that is coming all the way from the White House and beyond down. That campuses are rife with anti-Semitism. I mean, we've been on this very show. I've been interviewing graduate students at Columbia where Mahmoud Khalil and others were abducted by ICE under that premise. Where encampments were squashed and people beaten by tons of police under that premise to protect, Jewish students and preserve Jewish safety and to stop anti-Semitism, right? I mean, there is a draconian McCarthyist, crackdown on free speech across higher education and beyond right now, ostensibly in the name of fighting anti-Semitism and protecting the safety of Jewish students. I interviewed, one of the, if not the foremost scholar on McCarthyism, Ellen Schrecker, on the Real News podcast earlier this month, and I asked her, how does this compare to McCarthyism? She said it's worse. It's way worse. It's much broader than what McCarthyism was in the early 50s. And this is a top-down, effort coming from, like we said, the White House, coming from university administrations themselves, coming from lobbying groups like AIPAC. I mean, media that are, facilitating this narrative and amplifying this narrative while suppressing coverage of, protests like yours and voices like yours. I know we only got about 10 minutes here, but I really wanted to like ask if we could address that question, and if you guys could speak to listeners out there who are hearing this stuff, who are being told this narrative about what's going on campuses. Like, what would you, as 3 Jewish undergraduates, members of Jewish Voice for Peace, who just engaged in a solidarity hunger strike for Gaza, like, what would you want folks to know about what's really happening on campus, and what else they need to like correct their thinking on here?
Yeah, I mean, I get like unspeakably disgusted thinking about this and angry, because this administration is the same administration that works with Elon Musk, who did a Nazi salute on TV, and they want to use anti-Semitism as an excuse to crack down on protests that are fighting to end an ongoing genocide. They want to use anti-Semitism as an excuse to deport immigrants when Jewish Holocaust refugees were turned around at the US border. It's disgusting. It has nothing to do with protecting Jews. It has everything to do with enshrining power and preventing protest and preventing free speech.
Yeah, completely agreed. I also find it really disgusting, and it's also not reflective of all Jewish students on campus. They don't listen to all Jewish students on campus. They
Pick and choose.
They pick and choose. There are multiple Jewish organizations on campus, including Hillel and Chabad and Jewish Voice for Peace. And Hillel in particular, like at least the University of Oregon, Hillel, often, I guess, kind of works in tandem with the university, and that's where the university sources their reports from, but they don't consider the fact that there is an organization on campus that is an anti-Zionist Jewish organization, and they don't listen from us or ask us, or consider the fact that like maybe not all Jewish people think that that protesting on campus in solidarity with Palestine is anti-Semitic. So
can we add J Street there?
Oh yeah, and J Street.
And J Street.
Yes.
I'm just going to repeat myself what they just said. I also find it disgusting because all Trump and this administration, and this includes Biden too, Biden has facilitated this genocide. He is not guilty. He is just as guilty as Trump. They use the guise of anti-Semitism to further their own power, to further Christian Zionism, to further their idea that Jews must immigrate to Israel so the rapture can happen. Like, these politicians genuinely believe this. This is like factual. Also, to like continue on that, like Trump just wants to inherit power. He's more than okay to use Jews as a ploy to use this to continue his fascism and white supremacy. Like, this isn't new. We saw this in his previous administration. He's just using this as a way to continue. Like, in my mind, I wish I was surprised by what I'm seeing, but I'm not. It's like, they're obviously showing who they are. We should respond back to show who we are as like Jews. Like, I will not stand for this. And if I have to put my body on the line, like the rest of my fellow friends here, I will do that. If that what it takes for our universities to listen, then we'll do that. So
I think they also just weaponize any identity that seems to serve them in that moment. And that's kind of like, Trump is anti-Semitic. We've seen that multiple times. And Elon Musk and everybody who he works with, like, most of them like have had like very clear situations where like they have been anti-Semitic openly, like the Nazi salute that Cole mentioned. So yeah, I think it's just like whatever works to their advantage in that moment to uplift themselves. Yeah.
And Fia, like, I want to also give you a chance to hop in here as well. Like, I mean, like, we're literally all sitting here on a call with you, a Palestinian American, and with, your 3, fellow students from Jewish Voice for Peace, all y'all engaging in a hunger strike. You guys have mentioned, like the student encampment, the organizing that you've been doing on campus together. Like, what do you think that says, or what do you want that to say to folks out there, like who are pushing this narrative that this movement in solidarity with Palestinians, in opposition to the ongoing genocide and the violent occupation and ethnic cleansing of Palestinians? Like, what do you want people to take away from this to counter that narrative that this movement represents a threat to Jewish safety and identity and all the things that we're hearing in the media right now?
Yeah, I think I truly can't say it better than my fellow students did. But I think that there's a real danger in the conflation that we see right now between Zionism and Judaism. And it's important to remember that Judaism has always been a part of Palestinian land as much as Islam, as much as Christianity. Jerusalem has always been a hub for all three of the Abrahamic religions. That was never an issue until Zionism. Zionism was the thing that fractured the diversity of religion that was working for generations. And I think that isolating Zionism as the root cause and identifying the ways that we can criticize Zionism for its use or its weaponization of Judaism as a shield and a weapon. The ways that we can criticize it for that are important for protecting our Jewish students, sincerely.
Well, and in that vein, with the last few minutes that I have you guys here, I wanted to just ask if we could zoom out here and again put these hunger strikes, both the one that Fia continues to be involved in right now, the one that Sadie, Cole, and Efron, unless the university makes some movement, are going to be engaging indefinitely in next week. Students around the country are engaging in hunger strikes as we speak. I wanted to ask, with the last few minutes, if we could just again place this in the context of the broader kind of student movement that we've seen over the past year, 2 years. And if you had any final messages for folks out there, folks on your campus and beyond, what do you want to communicate to them about what they can do to help?
Yeah, I think in the broader picture, our primary goal by doing this hunger strike, yes, we do want the administration to meet with us and we do want them to meet our demands, but our primary goal is that all who bear witness to our hunger strike also bear witness to the humanity of Palestinians who are being starved to death in Gaza, because that is something that has continued. And last year we had, during our encampment, there was so much energy and there were so many people. And I think one big problem over the past year is that people just stopped paying attention. And I think by doing this, it's bringing that reality, not that it will ever match up to what is really happening and what Israel is doing to Palestinians, but bringing that into our own community so everybody can see how horrible it is what Israel is doing. They are intentionally starving people in Gaza, and they don't seem to intend on stopping anytime soon, which I think is why it's so important that people continue to pay attention. And if we have to sit at a table on our campus and not eat for multiple days, up to weeks, then that's what we'll have to do, because in the broader picture, this is all about Gaza, and our university is complicit in it, but we also have to continue to pay attention to what is happening.
Yeah, I think nationally, this shows the terrain of struggle has changed, and we need to continue to adapt our tactics to what works. And I think the effectiveness of the hunger strikes speaks to the success that Israel's had with dehumanizing Palestinians, because the outrage about college students not eating for a week is much larger than the outrage about hundreds of thousands of Palestinians not eating for days for over a year. And we need to I mean, that's just how it is. And we need to draw attention to that however we can. And if that's by utilizing the fact that people care about college students here more, then that's what we have to do. And people hopefully will take that and use it as a sign to keep going, to join whatever group is near them, if it's an SJP or a JVP,
Palestinian Youth Movement,
PYM, anything that is doing something about Palestine, then, that's what we need right now.
Honestly, when I think about the National Student Movement and how these hunger strikes have occurred, the amount of cross-student solidarity that I've seen is insane. Like, people are reaching out to us. Like, I never expected this, but then I thought, okay, the solidarity between us is amazing, but how can we create solidarity among people in the West? Because clearly they're not paying attention, and we need to bring it back to Palestine. I mean, we're speaking, the occupied West Bank is being annexed. Like, it's about Palestine and Gaza, and like, we really need to bring that back to the people of the West, because clearly they've shut their ears and are like, I don't want to hear about this. I don't want to listen about this. They need to listen, and they need to act. And like my friends just said here, I think they should follow through. And I cannot wait to hear what Fia says.
Yeah. Gosh, that's hard to follow. I think I would finish with the reminder that we will never understand what it feels like to be under constant bombing, under constant threat of displacement and murder. But we can understand a fraction of what the hunger feels like. And we can echo the emptiness of their stomachs and use that as our power and our advocacy. And I'd also just encourage people not to look away. It is really, really difficult to be completely conscious and aware of what we are responsible for as Americans, and what the United States of America is culpable for, especially in Gaza. But to look away is complicity, point blank. And it is our moral imperative to make sure that we are not abandoning our fellow humans while they are undergoing the crime of all crimes. I'd also say that Israel isn't only the most dangerous state for Palestinians. It is also the most dangerous thing for Jewish safety. It is the most dangerous thing for Judaism, is the most dangerous thing for like international order, for international law, for humanitarian law. So Israel is culpable of atrocities no matter how you look at it. And I encourage people to advocate against it in every single way. So thank you.
And just last question, because I know you guys got to go, but just in case any of y'all had a final message here, I want to ask, for folks listening to this who are still afraid to do what you're saying, to people who are scrubbing their social media right now, people who are, giving in to the understandable fear that engaging in this kind of protest, is going to put them in danger. Do you, as young people who are taking that step and continuing to speak up, for what you believe in and for what you know and believe to be right, do you have any final messages for folks out there listening who are afraid right now?
Yeah, I had the exact experience that you were referring to. Like, I was like, should I scrub my social medias? Like, should I be more quiet? Like, am I making too much noise? And I consulted like one of my my like icons in the community space that I like really look up to, and they reminded me like, this is exactly what the administration and like the Trump administration, what our government wants. They want us to be paralyzed. They want us to be afraid, to to want to step back and be like, maybe I shouldn't take this risk. That is their goal. And I think that even just saying, no, I'm going to stand firmly in what I believe, even if it's becoming more dangerous, that's a powerful act of resistance in itself. And I think that, if you're struggling to find ways to show your solidarity and get involved, your voice is one of the most important things that you have. And we underestimate what silencing ourselves really does. So keep speaking up is what I would say.
What I would say is, if you feel like you need to scrub your social media, but then go to a meeting. do what you need to do to protect yourself, but don't let that be the end. You need to be proactive while being safe. Use Signal. Use these platforms that are safer. Do the most that you can to protect yourself while still doing something.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of different levels you can like engage yourself into if like you're kind of in one of those moments where you feel like nervous or scared and you don't like really, I don't know, like you're nervous for your own, like, I want to say the word safety, but I feel like that's not the right word. I just continue to remind myself that like, this is like, I have to keep doing this. Like I am in a like position of privilege where I can like use my identity, especially, but also just like the things I have access to, like the university, and like, and that might not be true for everybody, but like there are still like ways to like access getting involved, and that could be like community based. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's like, I don't know. I get those moments a lot where I get nervous and I feel like I need to like censor myself or my social media and things. But then I don't know, I just, that kind of brings me back to thinking about like what is happening and how urgent it is. And like, I don't know if that has to like stop for any reason. I don't know. I don't see, I just couldn't see myself doing that because it's very like just deeply important and necessary that I continue doing it.
I would say, I mean, what all my people have said here is very good. I would say, like, for me, I've had some moments where I'm like, oh God, I'm a little freaked out because, like, some people will dox and, like, will do these things. But in retrospect, they're doing that out of hate. Like, they have so much hate. I'd rather do what I'm doing out of like love and like I'd rather look at this fucking fascist government and Israel and be like, no, I'm gonna stand up to you. And like, I also think people can do that in different ways. Like, if people are really good at art, please do art. We need art. Or like, if you're really good at writing, we need journalism out there, guys. Or I don't know, whatever skill you have, it could be used in the movement, and it could be as small as like, oh, I want to make a poster. That changes so much, you have no idea. Or, oh, I want to like do a press release. Can change so much. So I think acts of resistance can be as small as I want to make like a banner for this march or rally that is still standing against this administration and Israel. Even if it is really small, it is still something. And I think people should understand that, okay, this isn't enough. It is enough. And as long as you continue, the administration will continue to have problems. And that's okay with us because we're going to keep going and going and going. So that's what I would say. Whatever you can do is amazing.
All right, gang, that's going to wrap things up for us this week. Once again, I want to thank our guests, Fia, Cole, Sadie, and Efron from the University of Oregon. And I want to thank you all for listening, and I want to thank you for caring. We'll see y'all back here next week for another episode of Working People. And if you can't wait that long, then go explore all the great work that we're doing at the Real News Network, where we do grassroots journalism that lifts up the voices and stories from the front lines of struggle. Sign up for the Real News newsletter so you never miss a story, and help us do more work like this by going to therealnews.com/donate and becoming a supporter today. I promise you, it really makes a difference. I'm Maximilian Alvarez. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Solidarity forever.
When my face you no longer see, I live on, yes, I live on. Wherever we go, we are going to roll the Union on. The song I live on, yes, I live on. Wherever hungry, just as hungry can be. The song, I live on, yes, I live on. Where mean things are happening in this land, it's read a song, I live on, yes, I live on. Wherever the book, mean things are happening in this land is read, I live on, yes, I live on. Wherever the videotape of me is shown, I live on, yes, I live on. If I have help to make this a better world to live in, I'll live on, yes, I'll live on. When my body is silent and in some lonesome grave, I'll live on, yes, I'll live on. When my songs and poems are read, I'll live on, yes, I'll live on.